Namaste and greetings once again, Unity of Fredericksburg. Ooh-wee. Y'all ready? It's great to be back with you. Happy New Year and Happy New You. And thank you so very, 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 very much, Reverend Cheryl, for the invitation to come back and return and speak to my Unity of Fredericksburg family, my Fredericksburg peeps. Thank you so very much. Now, today, what we're talking about, two very deeply interwoven concepts and points of power: fostering and growing spiritual community and Black history, because it's Black History Month, right? And we're going to do this. We're going to bring these two ideas, these points of power, together through the filter of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., specifically based upon what he said referring to the beloved community. Which brings us to today's title: Spiritual Community, aka the Beloved Community. Now, a couple of things before we get into the actual message. Two resources that I'm offering. They're two books written by Reverend Jim Lockhart. If building community is your thing, I highly recommend. One, Creating the Beloved Community, a handbook for spiritual leadership, and book two, Being the Beloved Community, spiritual leadership to master change. Highly recommend those. Next, a challenge. Because of how profound is the impact and the influence of Black people on the forming of the United States of America, I challenge everyone to read and, or if you're available, if you have Hulu or know someone who does, watch the docuseries by Nicole Hannah-Jones, The 1619 Project. That's one. Number two, read or watch some of the material by Dr. Joy DeGruy about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And research some of the legacy makers of Black history. Now, we know the standard names: Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. These are standard names. Go beyond that. Find some folks that you don't know: Bayard Rustin, Carter G. Woodson, Marsha P. Johnson, Mamie Till Mosley. Investigate. Be curious enough to investigate and learn about other people who convention may not have taught you about. And then come together and gather and discuss how the history and the influence of these people impacted the forming of the United States of America. How does it influence and inform what it means for us today as New Thought visionaries and 21st century New Thought Good Samaritans? We can't effectively build diverse and inclusive communities if we aren't curious enough about diversity and culture and all of these things. Now, the message. Beloved community, what is it? The short answer: it is a community in which everyone is taken care of, cared for. There is no poverty, there is no hunger, there is no hatred, there is no othering, all of that stuff. In Centers for Spiritual Living, the concept, the vision is a world that works for all. That's this, the beloved community, right? Like, that's what we're talking about. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. popularized this term during his lifetime of activism, and he breathed into it this new meaning that was fueled by his faith, fueled by our faith of New Thought. How do we breathe into, right? It's got to be, how are we active in this? So breathed his faith into this of what community was, and he deeply believed that it was possible. But he understood that we have to address the systems of law and education, the infrastructure, healthcare, all of this stuff that must be reformed, reformed, formed anew in order to actually serve the community in life-affirming ways. Now, let that sink in for a moment, because if we're truly going to create the beloved community, a world that works for all, we must work together. No one person can do it. No one political leader can do it. No one spiritual teacher can do it. It's a group effort. That which is the divine is incarnating itself in, through, and as all of us. Then we come together and do the work. It cannot be manifested or formed in isolation or alone. It doesn't work that way. Even though in the highbrow restaurants, there's the chef, and then there are sous chefs. They create the meal together. And the chef doesn't serve the meal. There's wait staff who brings the meal. They work together as an organization called restaurant. Are we working together as an organization called New Thought, as an organization called the Beloved Community? Are we working together in all of the ways that that means? Financially, volunteering, serving. Are we truly working together? It means eliminating all of that idea about pull yourself up by your bootstraps and blah, blah. Yeah, it's time to let that go, the way of the dinosaur. Let it go extinct. This is not just about I, me. We create the beloved community by understanding that it's we. As New Thought Good Samaritans of the 21st century, we are called into actively creating, actively manifesting, and actively demonstrating the beloved community. We have to do it in our individual lives, in our one-on-one relationships with the family members and our neighbors and strangers, and build this collective consciousness of experience. And in order to do this, then we must be willing to forgive. We must pause, because it's not even willing, because as Goethe said, knowledge alone is not enough. We must act. Willingness is not good enough alone. We must do. So in order to do this, in order to manifest this, we have to do forgiveness, forgiving self and forgiving others. We have to do the learning of, do I have implicit biases? Do I have explicit biases? Do I engage in microaggressions? Do I even know what any of that stuff means? Am I curious about what it means to truly have a diverse and inclusive, celebratory community? To surrender whatever does not serve, whatever is in the realm of guilt or shame or judgment or blame or any of that stuff. Am I willing to truly surrender it, to relinquish it? Am I willing to be in a greater alignment, a greater mental equivalent with what it means to communicate, cooperate, and to collaborate in compassionate, cooperative, collective, creative ways? Breathe. Am I willing? Are you? Are you willing? Breathe. Because it's like I said, it's not just being willing. Willingness only gets you so far. Knowledge only gets you so far. We must act. We must do. We must be the living embodiment of New Thought. Now, keep in mind, there's a textbook called, it's volume 1 of the extension study course, in which Dr. Ernest Holmes says, God is all in all. God is our whole being. There is nothing else. So close is this union of creator and creation that it is impossible to say where one begins and the other leaves off. In the same way that if I had a cup of coffee and a cup of tea and I pour one into the other, is there a clear line between the two? No, they blend seamlessly into one drink. Are we embodying the beloved community to such a degree that there is no separation between ethnicity and race? And yet we see it. Don't say, I don't see race, because that dismisses. Don't tell me you don't see me as a Black man, because that means you are dismissing my Blackness, which has value, or God would not be incarnating as it. When I tell you that I am a gay Black man, do not say, well, I don't see you as gay, because then you are, again, dismissing how the creative force of the universe is incarnating itself as me. See it, acknowledge it, recognize it, and let us celebrate all of the God, all in all of the ways it shows up in, through, and as us. Breathe, because that's the only way we can create the beloved community, is by embodying what it means to forgive, to love, to embrace, to celebrate, to recognize each of our spiritual, magnificent expressions incarnating. But we can't do that if we don't see it in ourselves. The Judeo-Christian Bible says, and so God created humankind in its own image. In the image of God, God created them. Right? So we understand that a duck does not give birth to a cow. A cat does not give birth to an ostrich. Each of them gives birth to the thing that they are. God created you. You are made in the image and likeness of. You are made of it. You are it. And the manner in which you embrace that and embody that and then show up in the world, then it means your mental equivalent is in alignment with that, in the same way that Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, was in alignment. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was in alignment. How do we show up in alignment as the very power and presence of what community means? In Hawaii, there's the word ohana, family. And that's not always family of origin or birth. It's family of choice. Unity of Fredericksburg, is it family of choice? Are there people in the community who, I come to the community, I come to the church, I come here, but I don't really feel like family. And to a certain degree, that's okay because everybody has their own personal choice. But are we availing ourselves to make it feel that way for everyone who wants to feel it? Are we doing the processes? Are we doing the work to ensure that diversity and inclusion, that representation show up? Are we doing what we can to eradicate poverty within our community, within the actual unity of Fredericksburg, but also in the surrounding area, in the places where all of the membership? Where do you live? So you live there. Okay. So what's going on in your area? How much poverty and homelessness? Is there something that we as a community, as a beloved community, can do and come together to change that external condition? Can we reform? Can we remanifest equity and justice? Can we remanifest food and housing and clothing and healthcare? What are we called to do so that everyone who comes in on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday truly feels welcome, truly feels that they belong, truly feels that they are seen in all of their glorious, diverse way of expressing? Breathe. That's the work. How do we do what is ours to do? And it begins with recognizing there is no place within us for that small, self-incriminating, shameful, guilt-filled paradigm and consciousness. And yes, it may exist in that. Yes, because convention and yes. But are we willing to do the work to heal that? Are we willing to do the work to transform that, to use alchemy to turn lead into gold? Are we willing to do the work to say, this is the shame I feel and I am willing to feel whole, perfect, and complete. This is the guilt I feel and I'm willing to feel whole, perfect, and complete, to feel love and joy and passion and bliss. And then, because I am a New Thought Good Samaritan of the 21st century, to take that out into the world. Am I willing? Breathe. Because that is the legacy that we are invited to build from the ground up and to leave to generations to come. But the work starts now. Breathe and let us avail ourselves to enter into this space of meditation. To breathe, recognizing that there is nothing we need to do to find the next breath. We simply breathe, and the breath is present. And there's nothing we can do to rebreathe yesterday's breath. We can only breathe this breath now. We can't save a breath for a rainy day. We breathe this breath now. We can't prep tomorrow's breath. We breathe this breath now. And in breathing this breath, we are brought into the present moment, because that's where the breath is, right here, right now. And this breath affords us the spiritual practice of receiving, because we receive the inhale. And we receive all of the nutrients within the oxygen for our bodies. We receive it. We don't need to dissect it and determine, am I really worthy of that inhale? We allow it to be. And then once we are done with it, we release it, we surrender it, and let the exhale then nourish plant life. We receive and we give in this now moment. And it is in the same way that we manifest the beloved community. It is the same way that we acknowledge and honor Black history, not just Black History Month, because Black history is American history. There is no part of the American story that is absent of some aspect of what Black people contributed. And so in this breath, in this moment, in this giving and surrendering, in all of this spiritual practice, we come together and understand that this is how we build spiritual community, the beloved community. We honor, we recognize, we celebrate diversity. We include the various ways that God shows up. We include people who are deaf. That means sign language and interpreters. We include those who are differently abled, whether that's wheelchair, whether that's cane, whether that's crutch, whatever it means, we make whatever changes we need to make. Those who are visually different, large print type, whatever that means, Braille, whatever that means, we are willing and we do the work. We are able and we do the work and we breathe. And we breathe into the silence, the unknown, the infinite space where everything is. And as we prepare for the meditation to come to a close, and as this thing we call Sunday service soon also comes to a close, we understand and we recognize that the manner in which service, the manner in which we as the divine continues to serve the world continues long after Sunday has come and gone, long after Monday has come and gone. We continue to show up in the world as the beloved community, as love in action, as compassion in action, as service in action, as affirmative prayer in action. For we truly are 21st century New Thought Good Samaritans who are here to build a world that works truly for all. Breathe. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love, much appreciation. See you soon. Take care.